All right, well, welcome everyone to our April Economic Development Commission meeting. We're one shy of a quorum at the moment, but we're expecting two more folks to join us. So we do have a guest for this evening. It's Peter Ludwig with the Connecticut Green Bank. So why don't we just jump right down to discussion items? We'll give the floor over to Peter. He can run us through his CPACE presentation, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Okay, you want me to jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Floor is
great.
yours.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I never use Teams, so let me just figure this out. Okay. Are you able to, is everyone seeing my screen?
Yes.
Great. All right, let me go back to the top. Um, this can be pretty conversational, so just, and I'll share the slides with you. So I'm not going to go through every detail on every slide, but just jump in if you have questions. And I just wanted to check, are people generally familiar with the Green Bank? Would it help for me to give you like the 30-second
That would be
review?
great.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'll do that. I'll talk a little bit about what CPACE is, give you more of a flavor of what kind, how it works, what kind of projects are people doing, what's the impact of the program. And then there are some other, I have some customer stories, things like that, and we can see where you all want to head with the conversation. But at a very, very high level, first of all, thank you again for having me. My name's Peter, and I'm in a outreach and engagement role for our programs for commercial properties at the Green Bank. And so we're not actually a bank. That's the first thing. We are really, they call us like a quasi-public agency, which is, I guess, a way of saying that we're created by statute. We've been around for over 10 years, and our vision is very aspirational. It's a planet protected by the love of humanity. And as Brian Garcia says, our president, he says you can't have environmentalism without humanitarianism. So we are really trying to center communities in what we do. And what we do is to confront climate change, recognizing that, there's just a lot that needs to happen in order for all kinds of homeowners and building owners and municipalities to deal with the changes that are happening and will be happening. And whoops, the way we sort of think about our work is that when we started, we were more really a grant and incentive operation, but we realized that that's really not sustainable, partly financially, but partly just politically, it's not sustainable. So we can't have we really can't help cities and homeowners and everyone grow and over time if we're not sustainable. So what we try to do is take small amounts of public money, electric ratepayer money, things like that, to create innovative solutions or flexible financing solutions that bring in private capital and investment, and then make those services and products and technologies available to everyday people and nonprofits and building owners and such. So we're really trying to make the green economy in Connecticut inclusive and accessible to everyone. We're trying to use smaller amounts of public money to do so. And I wanted to mention that we work in a lot of different areas. I mainly work on our building solutions, but I mean, if you have a home, you could come to us for a solar loan or a heat pump loan. We do a lot of contractor training. There's a lot going on. Like we have programs for municipal state buildings, affordable housing. We even launched a battery storage program in the last couple of years. So this is just one program we have, and if there's interest in learning more about the Green Bank, we're always happy to have a follow-up or answer questions. So as I said, this is in terms of our work streams, we call this Green Solutions for Buildings, and CPACE is really the sort of flagship program. Let me see if I can move this thing out of the way. Okay. And so CPACE is an acronym, Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. And it is, in practical terms, it's a way for privately owned commercial properties to access long-term capital to do green property upgrades. So it's You know, that's what it means to the end user. People can come to us for financing for a range of energy efficiency, renewable energy. It says here, you can tell we're also doing electric vehicle charging. We're starting to expand into climate resilience measures. So that's any property owner, whether it's an apartment building, a nonprofit, an office building, manufacturer could use this program as long as it's not state or as long as it's not a city or state-owned property. And then the mechanism, the kind of the behind the scenes, the structure is that it's secured with a benefit assessment on the property. So similar to a municipal tax assessment or tax lien, like a sewer assessment on a property. So that is a very stable tool. It's already well tested and used in in a lot of different places. That allows us to go out to these longer terms. It also means that that assessment. So if a customer comes to us, a property owner, and borrows money, they pay it back. It amortizes over the term. And then at some point, they decide, hey, we're going to sell this building. It's no longer for us. Then that assessment, the obligation to repay, and that amortization schedule just stays with the property. So the new property owner comes in, has this improved building. Maybe there's solar, maybe there's efficient lighting, whatever the improvements that were made happen to be. And that new property owner can come in and enjoy those lower energy costs and continue to pay back that assessment. So that's kind of how it works at in the mechanical sense of the mechanics of it, and then also what it means to the customer. I'll keep going, but just jump in if there's questions.
Can I ask a question?
Please do.
So you finance these kinds of upgrades to buildings. Is this competitive with commercial lenders? Because there's a ton of people that lend money for this type of improvement. So I'm just curious, is that part of your model there?
I mean, we're not really, I don't think we're competing with them because the advantage of CPACE is the long term, right? I mean, if you know we're pretty much we do have a pool of private capital providers, so I can't speak to their interest rates, but we're really the only people doing projects smaller than like 2 million right now in the state. And our rates are in the 4.5 to 5.5 range. So, you know, if you can find a bank or a commercial lender who'll give you that rate over 20, 25 years, then that's great. But usually that's sort of, you know, that's where we would come in. And also I think a lot of banks are not used to, you know, we're experts on underwriting things like solar energy efficiency, and being comfortable with that risk. And I don't know that a lot of commercial lenders are. There are some specialty energy efficiency lenders, and honestly, you know, part of our role as a quasi-public agency is like part of what I should say as a green bank is that if someone has figured it out, that's great, you know, then we're not needed. Like we're supposed to be additive and coming up with new solutions. So if someone has a lender who's going to do something, that's fantastic, you know, and we're often working with property owners to kind of get them to the right place in the sort of ecosystem of partners and programs. If it's not us, or we think that they could benefit from, you know, a program through Eversource, we're always trying to make those connections and get them what's best, because our motive is not like dominating the market and making the most return. Our motive is these projects have to get done, and we want to play a key role in that. Does that help? Great, lots of thumbs up. Okay, you have to teach me how to do that another time. So anyway, yeah, just you know, at a high level, the sort of key barriers of CPACE. I mean, obviously, you could go and talk to a solar developer, and they can tell you, here's, you know, the project's $500,000. If you're a nonprofit, if you're a manufacturer, and you'd rather invest that money in, you know, upgrading your lines or something, your production lines, then it's great to come to CPACE and just get up to 100% of the money up front, right? And then you're able to monetize things like investment tax credits for solar and all these other benefits. So it's a really important, just, I mean, it seems simple, but, and then we talked about how, if you're not going to hold the property for the longer term, you can still, that obligation to repay transfers at sale. Most of our projects are cash flow positive in the first year. And so for people who are worried about return on investment, we also have the ability, or we have actually, I should say, when it says, if you're not sure about the savings down here, we actually have a statutory requirement, since we're, CPACE is a program that's created by statute, that there are more savings than cost over the lifetime of the equipment that's being financed or the technology that's being financed. So this is something I think provides, I mean, I see it almost as like a consumer protection aspect, where someone can't just come and sell you, $2 million worth of stuff that's never going to pay back. So we have a process where we, upfront, as part of a closing and review of the project, we have to assess whether this criteria is met. And then one other really nice thing is just that, I talked to 4 property owners this week, I think, who would love to do solar but have an old roof. And we have the ability to combine those measures into a package. So it's not just solar and roof, the way, we have some flexibility with other things, but that's a really nice sort of part of the program. So that's those are some of the advantages we see of CPACE. Yeah, this is just sort of talking about eligibility, but it's really any kind of commercial building, and it can be new construction or retrofit. Pardon my typo. And then we have a minimum project size of 30K. We typically, if someone has an energy efficiency project of that size, we direct them to the utility companies, because they have the Small Business Energy Advantage program, and that's, a great program to use. Get $100,000 in 0% money. But there are cases where someone has a small solar project, or for whatever reason they can't get help somewhere else. We'll do our best to make that happen, even though it's not the most efficient use of our time. We feel like we want to make the program eligible, or program available to people. And then in terms of eligibility, it's really a question of whether the technology or measure is permanent sort of to the property, whether it's related, whether it saves energy, or whether it's related to an energy saving measure. And then also we have the electric vehicle charging infrastructure, which is relatively new, and we're still sort of feeling out what the appetite for financing is, but it's an option for people. And then you can see, I'm not going to get into too much detail here, but since we're just doing the kind of overview of the program, but you have a sense of what's ineligible as well. And then I wanted to give you a sense of just the way the program has grown over the years. These numbers even today this has increased since I made this slide, but I feel like the point of this slide is that it's growing steadily over the years. It's not a flash in the pan. This is a sort of trusted tool. We have a portfolio of loans, and we're really happy to keep seeing more projects come in. And then just to give you a sense of what kind of projects we're doing, a lot of it is renewable energy, and a lot of those are solar projects. You can see just about 70% of projects are renewables, and then another 13% that are, some sort of renewable power, usually solar, and some energy efficiency measures. Actually, since I made this slide, also there was a huge CPACE deal in Darien that was like over 60 million. It was a new construction project where they played a kind of role in the capital stack. But in terms of kind of more like retrofit projects, we see the typical project is in the kind of $300,000 to $500,000 range. A lot of these are, you can tell, like they're office buildings, they're industrial properties, nonprofits who are looking to make some capital upgrade, looking to go solar. And that's really our sort of the key building demographic I feel like we're serving is not necessarily high-end commercial real estate development, although those are eligible for the program and they should take advantage of it. But really the kind of smaller businesses, kind of mom and pops, mid-sized manufacturers who want to do projects and need the capital. To give you a sense of sort of how we work with partners, we work a lot. I mean, we do a lot of training and work with lenders, with mortgage holders, because the program uses a senior assessment on the property. The lender has to give consent. So, you know, if there is a mortgage or a lender on a deal, we have to, property owner has to engage in. We might support that, but we've gotten, you know, we're making progress with a lot of individual banks and lenders providing their consent to a CPACE transaction. And then, of course, we have private capital providers. That's one of our goals, is to create a marketplace, not just that we're doing everything, but as I mentioned, most of them are focused on larger new construction projects where they can really play, you know, which I think reflects the success of the program, because a lot of them have, you know, large capital investments where they have to go to a bigger scale. And so they're out there marketing to some of the new construction projects. And then, of course, municipalities, like we're working, you know, hand in hand with towns to try to get these projects done and get this investment into communities. So I think that, you know, from the municipal standpoint, CPACE is such an important project because it's sort of, as you'll see in the case studies, it's really providing this kind of upfront investment to help buildings and businesses and nonprofits grow and stabilize and reduce their energy costs. It's a really proven mechanism. Like, you know, we've done 400 of them or something. It's not a new program, and the method, this municipal property assessment, is a really well understood tool. I think also we'll look at a customer story in a minute where you can tell that CPACE, you know, having access to the capital allows you to take advantage of other things. So, you know, you can get a utility incentive, but you have to pay for the whole thing. Or you can get an investment tax credit from the federal government, but you need the $200,000 or whatever it is. So, and then we work to administer the program. We do all the billing. We place the actual assessment on the property in partnership, but there's not a lot of like ongoing lift for the town to deal with it. And we are very hands-on. Like no one ever goes into a green bank like phone tree where they can't get in touch with anyone. And then of course our proven track record, I think, or the program's proven track record. So I'll quickly just give a taste of some of the projects. And this is a church that needed new HVAC, and they needed new boilers, and they were, and it's kind of a small project, but really important to that church. Another kind of a small business, bakery, family-owned business that was able to do a pretty small solar array. It's not a huge project, but for them, this is a huge benefit. And their cookies are excellent. Mystic Aquarium, they have enormous energy costs. So just, keeping all that water clean and at the right temperature. So they did a pretty comprehensive project using CPACE, solar, some HVAC upgrades, some lighting, and some monitoring equipment. And then also, this is more of like a kind of a startup in Mystic that does green pest control. And they purchased an old site that was a Monsanto research facility or something, I think, and really needed a pretty big kind of rehab of the property. We're able to do a really comprehensive project. And back to my point about they had no equity contribution. They were able to leverage. Did I leave it in here? Oh yeah, here. They were able to leverage over $1 million just in incentives from the utility company. We don't have to get too far into the weeds, but there's an income tax credit for renewable energy, which you probably all know about. If you own the renewable energy technology, you can claim depreciation over an accelerated period, over a 5-year period, which can, if that's what your accounting team wants, it can generate a lot of extra revenue. And then they're just creating clean power that's a ton of savings and energy efficiency. So, sorry, the power generation here and the energy efficiency here. So, just looking at the way CPACE can unlock these other benefits is, I think, something I think about a lot. So just sort of a quick review. Very simply, it's just access to affordable capital. It's pretty comprehensive, so we're not limited to just solar or just lighting. There's, in most cases, no upfront payment, and you have this ability to see savings over the longer term. We know benefit assessments are not a risky tool. The assessment itself stays with the property, so there's the borrower does not have to make some sort of balloon payment to get out of the transaction. We work really closely with our customers, and now we're partnering with Sustainable CT. And then, of course, the other incentives. And I think,
question.
of course, please do.
You have somebody who's using an old oil burner and wants to upgrade to natural gas. Do you support that, or you really want to get out of the petroleum business?
I mean, we don't have a statutory issue with doing that right now. It would really be based on energy and cost savings. And I think so we could look at a project like that. I mean, we might encourage them to at least consider heat pumps or try to pair it with solar or something. But, a contractor who is out selling could conceivably develop that project and bring it to us and ask us to underwrite it because it's an open market program. So, and that's a good kind of lead into this slide, just to give you a sense of how people can engage with us. People who, if there's someone who says, hey, I have this boiler replacement project I need to do, and they have their contractor and they know what they want to do, they just want to learn, and then maybe they even know what CPACE is and they're ready to apply. They can just go online, fill out a simple 3-page application. We also have a searchable tool for finding a contractor, which is, and all those folks have been, at least they've been sort of trained in CPACE. And then they're always welcome to just reach out and say, hey, what is this? Tell me about it. Am I eligible? How do I get started? And then we also have I'm actually not going to bring this up. We do have a current partnership with an energy company, but I think we don't have the time right now to get into that. But, and then of course, we're doing this workshop, but what the type of properties we sort of are thinking are best, and of course I'm always happy to talk to anyone. I think there's value in engaging and getting people to the right place. But it's really commercial properties of almost any kind, not residential. So it has to be 5 units or more if it's multifamily, and then it can't be publicly owned. In terms of the measures we can finance, it's a pretty comprehensive list. We can also do new construction, or ground up or repositioning, gut rehab of a project. $30,000 minimum, and it really goes up from there. And then I think the characteristics we look at when we say, okay, this person is probably a really good candidate if they're looking for a loan. It's built before 2010. It can't be too tiny because the project won't be there won't be enough savings and enough there to do it. Again, we're looking at the assessed value, because if it gets too low, then we just won't be able to, our underwriters will look at it and it'll just be too, the cost relative to the property value will be, the ratio will be off. And then owner occupied is really best. You can pass the costs and benefits of a CPACE loan, like through your lease to tenants, but it's most straightforward if the owner is in the building. And then again, simple ownership structure because of the consent to CPACE that's required. It gets complicated if you have, for example, like if you have a building that has tax credits, like a affordable housing property that has tax credits investors, then there could be, many tax credit investors and you don't know who they are. So how do you find them? We'd also can't do condos because you'd have to go and get consent from every single, occupant in the building. So there's things like that where just, if it's the best scenario is just there's a building that's owned by a company and they operate there and they have a loan from a bank where they have no debt at all. So that's kind of um, that's what we find is the best candidates. And I
Well,
put a bunch of yes.
real quick, can
Yeah.
we let Ginny hop in real quick to make a pitch for the workshop we have coming up coming up?
Yeah, so on May 28th at 10 a.m., Peter and people will be making a presentation on the CPACE program. Breakfast will be served, and we'd love to have committee members promote the CPACE program and the workshop. So the Sustainability Committee is working on getting the word out to businesses, but anything that you can do amongst yourselves to get the word out would be appreciated and helpful.
Yes. Yeah, we're really excited about the chance to engage with folks. I think Valessa has her hand up too.
And I'm driving, I think this was on the case study slides, but what size solar systems are sort of like in this middle of what you guys do?
That's a good question. And you said in the middle?
Well, like, or average, or like, I'm just
Yeah.
curious sort of what scale?
I would say anything that's on a rooftop. I mean, we don't tend to get into kind of utility scale solar farms. Like I sort of feel like there are people
Okay.
who specialize in that, and we're not really, that's not like where we're needed. I think we see that on the and I should say we have other solar products, like we have a lease and we have a power purchase agreement. But I think a lot of our commercial building customers really like to use CPACE because it's just an efficient, like if they need debt, it's an efficient, cheap and long-term way of recognizing the tax credits and other ownership benefits. But I would say typically we're in the, sometimes there's a project as small as, people will come to us, it's 25 kilowatts and we try to make it work if we can. But
Okay.
they're probably, 100, 200, 300 and up,
Yep.
lots of like,
Yep.
yeah, because it's small businesses and like bakeries, small manufacturers, it's sort of in that range, right? But I also just talked to someone today about a 1.5 megawatt rooftop array. So it's kind of it does range.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So like Ginny said, we have this workshop coming up at Town Hall on May 28th. I'll send out the flyer to the EDC members so that you can pass it around to anybody that you guys might know who you think would be a good fit, or just to spread awareness when we're, out and about in our daily routine, meeting with other businesses and business owners. Did anyone else have any other questions for Peter? All right, Peter, any closing thoughts? Anything else for the good of the order?
Just thanks for having me, and thank you for being open to learning about CPACE. It's a really great program, and we're excited about the workshop. So thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Okay, take care, everyone.
All right. So we are back to regular meeting now. We do have a quorum. So if we get back on our agenda, the next item on our agenda would be approval of the February minutes. So if someone wanted to make a motion to that effect. Dwight, the motion, is there a second? Nancy, the second. Any discussion or corrections? Nancy?
What did you say, Steve? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, did you have any corrections for the minutes?
No, I don't.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Then all those in favor, either say aye or raise your hand.
I
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. All right, thank you very much. So any thoughts, any questions on CPACE, or we're pretty comfortable with that? It's financing for privately owned commercial properties. 100% financing, long-term rate makes it easier for the owners to amortize the payments over a longer period of time. Kind of a unique deal, so.
I just
And,
wanted to get clarification. So Mansfield has not yet approved, per what Peter was saying about the need for the town council to approve working with CPACE. Has that happened in Mansfield yet?
I believe so. The town was one of the green towns on the map he showed.
I was looking to see, but I couldn't figure out which
Yeah.
town was Mansfield. Okay, thanks.
I don't remember doing it, but I'm pretty sure if we had an opportunity to, I'm pretty sure we did.
we were definitely green on the map, so. All right. Continuing down our agenda, staff updates, not much of a staff update except for I'm staff now, so. You'll see me at all these meetings. Very excited to be here and very excited to kind of keep everything moving forward. In terms of business updates, openings and
Steve,
closings.
does that mean the commission needs a new volunteer chair?
Thank you. That was coming up, and that was on my list of things to mention. So thanks. We need a new chair, and we have 2 openings on our commission. So we need 2 new members, and we need to come up with a new chair. So if anyone is interested, let me know, and we'll try to get it all sorted out for next meeting. And as in terms of who wants to be chair and the different officers, and also if you have recommendations for who would be good to add to the Economic Development Commission, I have a list of people that I've crowdsourced so far, and we'll kick it over to our governance committee to reach out and try to recruit them. But if you guys have any thoughts, please pass them along. All right. And yeah, if you have them now, that's good, or you can email them to me. Either way, that's fine. Other than that, we don't have a housing update other than the standard is still moving forward, and we're waiting to hear when they're calling it the Mark on Mansfield now. It used to be called the Hub on North Eagleville Road. When that will start and when the Village will start, which is the one next to the standard. So the one right next to where Nancy's located. When that gets a little closer, we'll hear about that as well. So those are the next 2, I guess, in line. In terms of our other discussion items for this evening, the town POCD update. We've talked about this quite a bit. We did benchmarking exercise, and then we had the event. I guess it was about 2 weeks ago now, Dwight, that we had the second phase of the POCD update. We met with, I think there was probably 40 or 50 people on that particular call. Broke out into a couple of different breakout rooms to discuss the vision for the future of Mansfield. I thought it was robustly discussed and attended. That was nice. But Jennifer and the planning folks have a very impressive event calendar where they are trying to gather as much feedback from the town as possible. So if you click on the link in our agenda for the POCD update, it will take you to the Mansfield Tomorrow website, which has all of the events that they're doing. We had another event last weekend, this past Saturday, at Mansfield Middle School, where people were able to meet in smaller groups and kind of discuss, different topics related to the POCD. And there are a number of other events coming up. And most importantly, there's a survey on the website. So if you haven't taken the survey, we're all encouraged to take the survey and get our thoughts on the future of our town memorialized. So this is kind of that step 2, that visioning step that we had discussed the last time when we were doing the benchmarking exercise. This is how we kind of set the roadmap for where we want to go. And once this kind of gets a little bit more refined, they'll give us a proposed end product that we can then comment on. That would be step 3. So if you're interested in making more comments on step 2, you can go to the website to find out what events are next or to fill out the survey. And we would definitely encourage you to fill out the survey.
Hey, what's
Did
that
you have-
shovel on your wall for, Steve?
Say what?
What is the shovel on your wall for?
That's the groundbreaking shovel from the downtown.
Okay, what's next?
What's next for the shovel?
Yes. Any
I-
ideas?
My current plan for it is it's my fire escape because there's only one door out of here. So if there's a fire in front of my door, I'm using the shovel to go out the window. But yeah, for right now, it's just a nifty looking wall ornament. Yeah, so if anyone has any other thoughts on the POCD update, step 2, we could always, as we have done many times, send a letter with our thoughts. If anyone has any thoughts on this, otherwise we can move on to the Northwest Mansfield plan.
Well, I was just curious, when we were auditing the, past 10 years, we were talking about, the future in which we actually would comment on, the next 10 years. So that is the idea that there's a separate committee who's actually working on our report or our sort of audit of those initiatives. And then they're going to draft a new set of, I guess, plans, and then that will come to this committee, and then we'll comment on it and add to it or take things away. Is that the idea, or?
In broad brushstrokes, I think that's sort of the way it's working. So they have the consultants who are gathering all the feedback from the benchmarking exercise and then all of these events that they're holding.
I
And they're
say
trying to
synthesize that.
yeah, synthesize, that's a much better word, thank you.
Oh.
Synthesize that into a cohesive vision
Got
that
it.
they'll use to rewrite or to edit what we currently have. So this is an update to our existing POCD. So they'll use that to kind of update what we have, and then they'll propose the changes to us for our feedback. And that's kind of step 3. So I don't think they're going to ask us like they did with the benchmarking. Here's the 2 chapters. Now give us your vision for the chapter. I think they're trying to get all that feedback with all these events.
Okay.
So for anyone who hasn't been able to participate in one, I actually had a pretty good time on Saturday. It was really interesting, the feedback that I received. And the one that Dwight and I were at a couple weeks ago was pretty interesting as well. So, and they're pretty short. They're under an hour. Sorry, Valessa was there too. Valessa, see your thumb up. That was awesome. Yeah.
So just out of curiosity,
Great.
I didn't go to the one on Saturday because I thought it would be, duplicative of the online version that we had done, but was it different? I'm just curious, I mean, obviously the demographic was different, but was the activity more or less the same?
It was like a in-person version. So they had 6 breakout groups with different topics. And so instead of talking about a number of topics in your group, you circulated around to different stations to talk about different topics. So I was at the diversifying the economy station. There was a housing stop. There was a infrastructure stop. There was a sustainability stop. I think there was 6 of them. So people kind of got to go through 3 different ones that they wanted to. And there was a member of the consultant at each station taking notes for us. And then we just kind of facilitated a robust discussion with a whole bunch of people from town. So
Okay, thanks for that. I just wasn't sure if it's worth going to those as well as the one that we had gone to online.
what I got out of it, personally at least, was that we've always talked about, at least here on EDC, the Southern Gateway, the downtown and Four Corners as being kind of our key areas for growth, and to a lesser extent, Perkins Corner. So many people brought up the Depot campus and the area around the Depot campus. And I know the Depot campus is technically owned by UConn, but there is some land that's adjacent to it that's not. And there's the chance that UConn may sell part of it for an EV test track, in which case it wouldn't be UConn, it would be Town of Mansfield land. So So I think that was one of the big kind of takeaways for me, is more of a adding a new point of focus on there, and in whatever capacity we can advocate for, brownfield remediation funds or whatever. That was kind of unique. And then just a general sense for trying to find a way to get some more jobs in town. I don't know, Valessa, what stations were you able to stop at?
So I did, oh gosh, town character, infrastructure needs, and, like, the one that was talking about wetlands and,
Mhm.
sort of natural lands. And Dwight, my sort of the main takeaway was it was an opportunity to provide input, yes, but it was also an opportunity to engage with other people about and like have gray area and discuss sort of the rationale behind my thinking and hear theirs. And so, it was just more satisfying in that sense.
Cool, thank you.
All right, any other thoughts or questions on the POCD update or the process? All right. Then the next item on the agenda is the Northwest Mansfield Plan. Nothing so much to report here other than I don't believe we've formally submitted any comments on this. And I don't think it's necessarily something we need to figure out tonight, but if there's a general sense that we should weigh in on this, we probably should get a couple of us together to do that. The plan is available by clicking the link on the agenda or going to the website. Pretty comprehensive plan, but I think there's definitely a sense for feedback might be appreciated. So I don't know if anyone has any interest in trying to pull that together, or if we're gonna kind of wait to see where this shakes out.
I haven't had a chance to read it. It's quite long.
It
Have
is.
you have you read it? Do you feel like the EDC has a place to weigh in there? Or I mean, I'd be happy to read it, and talk about it at some point if someone wanted to.
Yeah, I read through it and I definitely have a few comments on it. But I mean, I could always just send my comments in as like, a resident of the town. It doesn't have to come from the EDC. If there was a group of people that were like, hey, we'd like to do this, then we could certainly set up a time to get together and do that. But I know everyone's got a lot on their plate, and we have the POCD update going on and all this other stuff. So that's maybe I'll reach out to you after the meeting. We'll see about maybe setting something up.
I think I'm interested.
Was that Valessa?
Yep.
All right, awesome. And Kristen, you have your hand up? Oh, she's interested too. Awesome. Okay. Oh, that's right. Her audio is not working. All right. So then what I'll do is I will email out a couple dates and times, and we'll see if we can figure out a time to meet and just kind of chat about the plan and make sure everyone has the chance to read through it first. So it won't be next week. It'll be a couple weeks out, so we have some time to kind of digest. Awesome. Last thing on our agenda is the EDC Town Council presentation, which is something we've done every year, kind of with an update as to what we've accomplished over the last 12 months. So that is included in our packet. Looks reasonably similar in style and content to what we've done the last couple of years. Kathleen was awesome enough to go through here and update it with the stuff that has changed over the last 12 months. I included it here just in case anybody had any questions or any comments or any thoughts of things to add or wanted to make a stylistic change or anything like that. And then I already asked Kristen if she'd be good enough to present this as the vice chair. And yes, as she has indicated, she said she would do it. So that's awesome. Yeah, if anyone has any comments, thoughts, questions.
Thank you, Kristen.
Amen to that. All right. If you come up with anything you think we missed or we should consider adding or removing, by all means, feel free to email either Kathleen or I, and we can certainly make those changes. Yeah, and then Kristen, the date for the presentation, I told you I would email you. I was just waiting to get confirmation back from Kim. It is April 28th is our date with town council. But I'll email that to you with just the slides, not part of the board packet. Two other things just to put on your radar, Taste of Mansfield Awards. I was talking with Margaret Chady earlier today. They had a Taste of Mansfield meeting. They're looking for nominations for people for Taste of Mansfield Champions Awards, and they're also looking for us to nominate one of our EDC members to serve as the EDC rep. Dwight has been awesome enough to volunteer, so unless somebody wants to dethrone Dwight, I think we'll give him that role, give him that charge.
Happy to.
Awesome. And they are absolutely looking for a robust slate of candidates for possible Taste of Mansfield champions. So if you have anybody, any suggestions, any ideas, you can go to Taste of Mansfield's website. And I'll send out a link to that with the workshop email from Ginny we talked about earlier later, so that you have that. You can forward it along to them with any recommendations or nominations you have for that. And I feel like there was one other thing I was supposed to remember to tell you guys. Presentation. No, maybe that's it. Maybe we got it all. I can't believe, oh, I know what it was. Nancy was awesome enough to send out the nominations for top food categories in Connecticut for CT Insider, and we posted that today on the Mansfield social media pages. So if you want to interact with that and then go on CT Insider and vote for your favorite places to eat, that would be fantastic. It not also helps drive our social media, but also helps our local businesses. And Hops was nominated for 5, I think, different categories, which was incredible.
Yeah, it's not just eateries though, like Mansfield Supplies on there. There's a lot of other places on there. I'm so excited about all of it.
Yeah, it's a great thing they're doing to showcase a lot of businesses, and it's getting a lot of people talking about a lot of different businesses, and there's a lot of Mansfield businesses on there. I think there was more than half a dozen when I checked, and there's
Yeah.
probably more that I missed. So
Benton River's on there as well.
Taco, yeah,
Yep.
Jim Thompson and Sons, yep.
In different categories. So it's
absolutely.
really good. Let our little world be known,
Amen.
right?
And then the last thing I have for you guys is something that Kristen had brought up earlier when we were doing our benchmarking exercise, which was asking for a list of area restaurants. So if you go on mansfieldct.gov, the main Mansfield webpage, on the leftmost tab, it's Discover Mansfield, and the 4th or 5th one down is Places to Eat, which has a list of all of the restaurants in town, and it's reasonably up to date. Like, I think the last thing we added was Dad's Do's. So this gets them all listed. Our next step in this plan, which again we had talked about when we were doing that benchmarking thing, is to come up with a kind of like a cheap trifold brochure that has, maybe not every single one of them, because I don't know if we can fit every single restaurant on a trifold, but a representative sample of the different restaurants in town, and then a QR code that takes you to this specific landing page on the town website. And then we'll go around distributing those trifolds to area businesses. Because as Kristen mentioned, it's great when you have a client come in and they're like, hey, where can I go to eat? You can give them something like this, and then they can make a choice for themselves. So thank you, Kristen, for a fantastic idea. We are rolling it out as quickly as we can, and hope to have that for everybody soon.
Steve, can I just make a suggestion of also like putting like Connecticut countryside on there? Because all in the surrounding towns, like the Connecticut countryside website has all different places throughout town. So if people are coming to town and they're perhaps staying in Bolton I mean, we know we want them to come to our town.
Mhm.
But it's also nice to show what's in our surrounding area.
Sure. And I think they have
I don't know if that
a
link is
similar
on there.
thing. Yeah, so we could certainly link to that as well.
And I think they link to Mansfield as well.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea.
Just be collaborative.
Yep. No, absolutely. Awesome. Did anyone else have anything for the good of the order? Anything for future meeting topics? Anything that you just have to get off your chest before the meeting ends tonight?
Yes, I have just one thing, Steve, an old saw on my part. Just to note that UConn just won its third national championship in basketball in a row, but you would not know that we were the self-proclaimed basketball capital of the world driving through Mansfield, sadly.
I'm making notes. Hold on. I got you.
Lane, I'll tell you, you can't say you're the basketball capital of the world without paying for it.
Has anyone asked UConn about that?
I mean, I personally can't say that. I couldn't even say Yukon without paying to say the word Yukon in any of my social media posts. I have to be a partner with Yukon Athletics.
We'll look into it further, Lane. I think I know the right person to talk to on that one. So, because you're right, it definitely feels different than it did when they made the tournament the first time back in the 90s and everybody went crazy and everybody had signs and yeah.
It really won 1/3 of the possible national championships you could win since the year 2000, which is just stunning.
Yeah, it's definitely no doubt the basketball capital of the world. We just have to figure out if we're allowed to advertise it as such. So
The state advertises it on their highway signs when you're driving in from Massachusetts.
It's a state university, though, Lane. I mean, I'm just telling you, like, I got my hand slapped many times until I finally became a partner. And, you know, like, that's just the way it is. It's sad, but I can't say that it's been bad for me to become a partner either. But being that we're in their backyard, it shouldn't be such. Just my thoughts.
we'll add it on our to-do list of things to explore how we can further that relationship and that slogan. So all right, anything else? Fantastic, guys. With that and would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Brian, thank you. Is there a second? Dwight, all right. And all of you can vote yes and wave goodbye and have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you again next month.
Bye.
See you.